Alright folks, today we're going to install 8 spark plugs. I decided to buy these laser Iridium premium plugs made by NGK. Here's the part number. ILF RST114904. I bought 2 boxes to equal 8. These are supposed to be the best. They last for 100,000 miles. The ones you currently have in your car last between 30 to 50,000 miles. So I decided to invest in these. They are kind of expensive. They're over 10 bucks each, but I thought it was well worth the price since it is your car. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start looking at my engine compartment and look at where these spark plugs are going to be. So on each side of your V8, you're going to have these 4 coils, okay? These 4 coils got these harnesses attached to them. Here you got 1, here you got 2, okay? You got 3, and you got 4 all the way in there. I can't really see it from here, but if you look at the first one, you can totally tell what they are. If you lift up this big wire harness, it's going to look like a black square piece right here, and it's got a 10mm bolt below it. So you're looking for this black square thing with a 10mm below it, and there's going to be 4 of them. One right there, one right there, and so on, and they're equally spaced apart, 4 of them, okay? But in order to get this coil out, these 4 black pieces out, these 4 black square pieces out, which I call the coils, I need to remove this harness out of the way. And this harness is held in by a 10mm right there. See that 10mm? If I remove that 10mm, I could take this whole entire harness and just shift it out of the way, and I'll get a clear view, okay? And that is the driver's side. Now if I go to the passenger side, you're gonna look at it, you'll be like, holy fuck, there's no way I'm gonna get in there. There is a way, and it's really simple. All you gotta do is pretty much remove this, okay? Your air filter compartment. You don't have to take the filter out, just the compartments and the ducts that lead up to it. So, and it's really easy, and I'll show you how. Okay, the first things first, I want to take off this Lexus dust cover here, engine compartment cover. Take it out of the way. There's no screws to it. All it does is just pop right off. Put it to the side. Okay. When I say pop right off, I truly mean pop right off. They're held in by these little thingamajigs right here, and the back part just line up with those 2 little rubber pieces. Once you pop the whole panel up, you just slide it out and it comes right out. Okay, so what I'm going to want to do is I want to clear all this out of the way, and they're all connected together. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is start unplugging these plugs that lead to this air vent. Okay, so what I want to do is push into this tab and open this up. Okay, and you got this right here. All you have to do is open up the tab and slip the harness out. Comes right out. Okay, just move it out of the way, and you're clear right there. Now you want to open up your air filter housing right here. Just 3 tabs, and it comes right up. See that? Oh, should come right up. There you go. Comes right up. But for you to remove the rest, you're going to have to most likely take this, clamp it up, and move it, mosey it to the back. Mosey it to the back. There you go. When you mosey it to the back, you're going to wiggle this out, and it should come out. There you go. Just lay it to the side. Don't even take this pin off. Just leave it in there, that bracket. Now I'm going to want to take this off, and it's held on with this right here. I kind of loosen it up ahead of time, but I just wanted to show you what it would look like. So it's 10mm. I unscrewed it. Let me go unscrew it a little bit more here. You'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, you unscrew it right there, and it should come loose. So this whole entire housing should come loose. There's one other thing that's holding on, is this tube right here. All you do is just unplug it right in the back. Just leave it dangling. If you wiggle this out, there you go. Okay, now you're taking a look to see if anything else is grabbing. Look behind here, and there you go. What you got here? It's nothing. It was just that one harness that I unplugged in the first place. It just caught on to it. There you go. Bam! Gonna take it out of the way. Right here. Super simple. There it is. Really simple, right? Now if I look on this side, wow, it looks like it gives a lot more access than the driver's side, sort of, kind of, but not really. Right, so what I want to do now, I want to take a look at where the coils are. Remember what I told you, that what the coils look like? They look like these 4 square things right here. Here's the first one. 4 square thing with the 10mm bolt right underneath it that holds it in. So if I move this harness over, you're going to see the 10mm bolt right underneath it. See it? You see it? You can't see it because it's kind of dirty, but it's right there where my middle finger is. Right there. Okay? What I'm going to want to do is I'm probably going to try to find a bracket right here and try to remove this bracket. Wiggle it out. It's probably clamped up somehow. And I'm going to want to take this main harness out of the way, push it out of the way. So I'm going to need 2 hands to do that. Okay, so I'm going to set the camera down and make an attempt at trying to remove this middle harness. But if you look at all the coils, every single coil is going to look, just remember, it looked like this black square with the 10mm bolt holding it in on the bottom. And on the top of it, pointing upward, you got its plug. The plug that goes into the coil, and it's really easy to remove. There's a tab. Okay, you just push on the tab and you just squeeze it out. But I'm going to need 2 hands to do this, I think. See right there? Yeah. You might need a little flathead screwdriver to help you mosey it on out also. Okay, but that's what it looks like. You're going to have 4 on this side, you're going to have 4 on that side. Okay? Okay, let's go back to the driver's side. Remember how I said on the driver's side, there's the one main harness that runs right across all the coils, okay? And to be able to get access to the coils, I'm going to need to move this harness out of the way. This harness is held in by that 10mm. I already loosened it up for you guys, just for the purpose of this video. I'm going to unscrew this 10mm. It's going to look like that. 10mm. Set it aside. I always like to set it up here because they find its way rolling off and into the engine compartment somehow. So I took it off, and now I can remove this harness that goes straight across my coils. Now you take a look. Bam! You can see all coils right here. Remember I told you the 4 square ones? The square with the 10mm on the bottom. Here's the second one with the 10mm. The third one, 10mm. And in the back, right there where my finger's pointing, that's the 4th black square coil, and there's the 10mm. All you gotta do is take this thing, go to each 10mm, go counterclockwise until they all come loose. Do it to all 4. Once they all come loose, you can pull that whole entire coil out. But before you pull the coils out, just keep in mind there's a plug on top of each coil. Okay, just unplug it just like you do any other plug. Just push on this tab and just pull it out. Okay, but unscrew that 10mm, unplug this, and then pull this whole entire coil out. Okay, here's the first coil right here. What I'm going to do is push on the tab, squeeze it out, remove the plug. Okay, remove the plug out of the way. I don't know if I showed you guys this, but I actually tie wrapped this main bracket out of the way just so it doesn't keep on covering my work area right here. I need it out of the way, so all I did was just get a tie wrap right there, zipped it up, whoop, now it's out of the way for what I need to do. So there's that 10mm I've been telling you guys about right there. I already loosened it up, and I'm just going to take that 10mm out. Okay, it's going to look like that. Wow, it's pretty long, but it's a 10mm. I'm going to set it aside. Okay, now the coil should wiggle right out. Here's the coil. It's coming right out. Let me show you how long this sucker is. Bam! Look at this. This is your coil. This is the black square box I'm talking about, which is your coil. There's the 10mm hole right there, and there's your plug. You're going to have 4 of them on your driver's side, equally spaced apart. Okay, this is the very first one on the driver's side. That's the closest to the front. You're going to have 4 more on the passenger side that you're going to have to remove. Okay, when I remove this, the other end of this, see this hole right here, plugs into your spark plug. Okay, your spark plug is deep down inside that hole right there. Okay, I'm going to use a deep socket wrench, a deep socket, okay, to go in there with the ratchet and turn it counterclockwise until I remove my spark plug, and I'm going to replace it with a brand new laser Iridium plug. Okay. Okay, I got out a 16 millimeter socket right there, 16 millimeters. And right inside the 16 millimeter, it has a nice rubber O-ring in there. It's to grab the spark plug. Otherwise, if it didn't have that black O-ring, I wouldn't be able to pull the spark plug up because it's deep down inside that hole. So when I push this socket in, the O-ring actually grabs the spark plug and it pulls it up. So 16 millimeter with an extension. I'm going to go inside this deep hole right here. Okay, I got another extension right here. Go all the way down. There you go. You got to turn around until you feel for it. Plug it in. You got to get your ratchet. Remember, counterclockwise. Counterclockwise until it comes out. It's kind of loose right now, so I can pretty much do it by hand. So you just turn it counterclockwise until you feel it completely loose. Once it's completely loose, I can pretty much pull out the whole entire spark plug. There you go. I kind of feel it right now. There you go. There you go. There's the spark plug right there. Like I said, the O-ring is what grabbed it. It's that O-ring right in there grabbed it. Okay? I'm going to grab my brand new spark plug right here. Make sure that the socket wrench fits, the socket fits right there, 16 millimeter. See, the O-ring grabbed it, it's not going anywhere. All I have to do is just tighten it in by hand. Make sure I don't use any tools when I tighten it in by hand because you don't want to cross thread anything. Stick it back inside. And just tighten it by hand. Make sure it's going in smooth. Remember, you do not want to cross thread it. That's probably the worst thing you want to do is cross thread it. Sure it's going in good. I can feel it going in there. It's pretty tight. I'm going to tighten it a little bit more, maybe a 1/4 inch turn. There you go. You do not want to over tighten. Worst thing you could do to your spark plug. Now you can pull out the whole entire thing. There you go. Spark plug's already in there. Now I could choose to put this back in there and keep going to number 2, or just keep it loose, just so it gives me a reminder of which ones I did and which one I didn't. There's several ways to do it. You could do 4 on this side, then 4 on that side, or you could do all 8 at once. So it depends on how you like installing these spark plugs here. But I'm going to do it one by one in the event that I need to use my car for something. Okay, so I'm going to retighten my 10 millimeter on the bottom of the coil, exactly same location where I removed it. Got my trusty 10 millimeter right here. There you go, tighten it. I did about a 1/4 of a turn, hand tighten, don't want to over tighten. I'm going to take my plug, my trusty little plug right here, I'm going to plug it back into the coil, make sure everything's tight. Bam! Now I'm going to move on to coil number 2. Okay, so here's coil number 1, coil number 2 is right here. So I'm going to do the exact same thing for all 4 on this side. There's nothing special that you guys need to know. Nothing that I had to remove extra. It's just a lot of extra extensions you're going to need. Trust me, you're going to need extensions for this because there's different lengths that you're going to have to try to reach in there. Okay, I got a bunch of these short extensions that you're going to need. Here's more short extensions you're going to need. These are all 3/8. Okay, yeah, I even have a long extension, but you're not going to need that. It's a really tight engine compartment, so try to have a couple of these on hand and one extra, maybe 4-incher on you, okay, just to do the spark plug inside that tight cavity. All right, here's my old one, here's all the brand new ones. Now I'm going to move on to coil number 2. So after we finish doing the driver's side spark plugs, we're going to move over to the passenger side. So on the passenger side, even though it looks like it's out in the open, I decided to go ahead and take out my filter box because I just like working with a lot of room. So with this filter box, it's fairly easy. You just remove the filter element, set it aside, and inside the filter element, you're going to have 3 12mm bolts. One right here, and just one on the other side right there, 12mm. Okay, I'm going to remove those 12mm right now. The only way you could actually do this work is if you have a step ladder, because this car's kind of high and I can't just reach over and work. It's really difficult. So I got one of these 2-step ladders, and I'm using like this blanket on my fender to take all this apart. Here's my bolts right here. They look like this. See that? And I'm going to take one last one out on the side here. After I take this 3rd bolt out, this whole thing should come out fairly easily. There you go. This whole entire box comes right out. Bam! Look at that. Look at that. Set this aside. Once I set it aside, you guys are going to get to see how much room I got to work. Okay, so here's the number 1 spark plug, right? Remember that black square I was talking to you guys about so much? It's plug on top and the 10mm that holds it in. So that's number 1. There's 2, right? There's 3 behind that big harness, and there's 4 out there yonder. The only way to reach number 3 and 4, I've got to remove this main harness that's covering everything up. Okay, so it looks like it's got a 10mm right here that's holding this harness in, and it's got another one over there. Okay, so I'm gonna try to do that right now. So right now I'm removing the main harness on the passenger side. It's this bolt right here that's holding in this part of the bracket. Take it out. Okay, 10mm right there. Set it aside. I'm going to remove this one right here that holds in the back harness. Once it gets too loose, I'm going to take it out by hand because I don't want to drop it in the engine compartment. That's a whole new headache right there. Loosen this up. There you go. It's another short 10mm bolt. Once I do that, this thing should be fairly easy to move out of the way. So I'm going to grab it. I'm going to mosey it out of the way right here. So I find out that it's a little slight harder to do, but it's still manageable if you take a look. Okay, so you got those 2 black boxes right here. Here's number 3 where my finger's pointing, and here's number 2 right here. Can I still do it? Yeah, I can probably do it. I'm probably gonna need 2 hands, or what you can do is get a tie strap like I normally do, a zip tie. If you've ever seen a zip tie, I'm pretty sure you have. One of these doohickeys, you could zip tie this and just zip it up on top of a harness on top so it stays out of your way. I'm going to need 2 hands to do this, okay guys? All right. Okay guys, so I zip tied my harness right here. If you can tell, I took the whole entire bundle and I zip tied it to this hose on top, and now I got 1, 2, and 3 over there, all out in the open. The 4th one is still on the open, but we'll show you that one last. Okay, so this one is fairly easy. This one is so much easier to do than the driver's side. So remember what I said, all these coils take a 10mm bolt. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these. So doing this coil pretty much applies to every single coil on the whole engine. Okay, they're all the same. It's 10mm bolt. Just remove it right here. Okay, looks like this. They're fairly long. Set it aside. Right. Now you got this plug on top. This plug sometimes gets stuck. It just requires a little tugging and pushing on this tab. There you go. Wow, this one was a lot easier than I thought. So here's what the plug looks like. This is the tab I'm talking about. You push on this tab and you just pull it. Sometimes it gets stuck, so you got to stick a little flathead screwdriver in there. And what I did to the driver's side is I held on to this tab while I took a flathead screwdriver and I just jimmied it out of there. Just jimmied it out of there, and it just pops right out. Okay, so now the coil should come out freely, and this is what the coil looks like. Okay, remember guys, the coil comes with this rubber grommet right here. Do not drop this in the engine compartment, because sometimes when you pull it out, this slips out and it just falls right in there somewhere. Just remember, hang on to this. Okay, keep it on the coil itself. Okay, set the coil somewhere. Okay, and now we're going to grab a 16mm with a black o-ring in there. 16mm with a black o-ring, and I'm going to grab my 3/8 extension, my ratchet right here. Woo! Make sure you go counterclockwise, guys. Okay, counterclockwise. I'm going to put another extension just because I can. Filter box is out of the way, makes life a lot easier. Counterclockwise to break it open. There you go. Just broke open. Once you break it open, you're going to want to do the rest by hand. You don't want to hurt your spark plug threads or anything like that. You never know, because once you cross thread these things or you ruin the threads, you're kind of screwed, because you would have to go back in there and have somebody recoil these threads, and that's not a good thing, because these thread shavings go back inside your in compartment. Might as well just put everything back together and go buy yourself a new car, because it's probably going to cost the same amount of money. Well, not that much, but you know what I mean. It's a big hassle. Might as well just do everything right the first time, you know. Just do it really slowly, make it come out, and I'll show you exactly what it's going to look like. Okay. Oh, it fell in. So what I'm going to do, if it falls in, I'm going to try to look for it with my socket and punch it in so the o-ring sticks to it. There you go. There you go. Wow, look at this. This is the original. So the original is also in iridium, tomato, I don't care how you call it. These are super expensive. Iridium, whatever. So I'm going to go put this aside. And I got my laser, iridium, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. So these are the laser ones. They're super awesome. They're badass, man. I'm a sucker for the best of everything. Everything I buy, I like to buy the best, the most expensive. I have no idea. I think it's a mental thing. It's very therapeutic to know that you're putting good stuff in your car, right? Unless it's a roof rack, made in China is okay with me. I don't give a shit. but something that goes into your engine for quality such as oil or whatever, I like to buy the best. Remember, accessories I don't care, but when it comes to safety and maintenance of your engine, your suspension or your brakes, I only buy Lexus or Toyota OEM parts. Here is the NGK laser Iridium. Here it is again. I don't know. Okay, remember I told you these are pre-gapped. Okay, they are set according to Google. They're set at 44 thousandths. Okay, so you could go ahead and buy a gap checker and stick it in there and make sure it's 44 thousandths gap. Okay, I've never ever in all my years of changing spark plugs have I ever had one where I bought brand new that was out of whack. So I feel very confident just looking at this. It looks pretty good. I've seen 44 thousandths before, and look at that, huh? 44 thousandths. I've done some gap checks already on my first 2 or 3, and they look really good. So bear with me. I am going to stick this back in the car. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick the spark plugs back into my socket here. Remember, this is a special one, okay? It's got a black O-ring in there. So if I flip it upside down, it's not going to fall. It's stuck in there. So what I'm going to do, remember, I'm not going to use anti-seize goop on my threads. Don't need it. I've been doing some research. It says the laser Iridium ones don't need it because of the material of this thing, so it doesn't seize up on you. So you're good to go. Save some money. Okay, these laser Iridiums are good for 100,000 miles. All right, stick it in there, make sure it's centered, and start threading them in clockwise. You want to thread them in, try to feel the threads. If it starts getting stuck on the first 1 or 2 threads, stop and back off. You don't want to keep going. You want to keep going only if you're going in smooth. I usually try to use 2 hands. My left hand to hold my extension while my right hand turns it. Okay, keep going until it gets tight. Give it a little nudge. There you go. It's pretty tight. So right now I'm going to tighten it in with my ratchet. Normally you want to do 15 foot-pounds. 15 foot-pounds is not a lot, guys. Normally I just do less than a quarter of a turn. I can totally feel what a spark plug tighten should be. But if you're not sure, get yourself a good torque wrench. 15 foot-pounds, okay? Pretty tight in there, and at the same time you're not over torquing where you're going to ruin your threads. Take them back out, okay? After you take it back out, guess what? You're going to reverse install everything back again. Remember your rubber grommets in there. The plug faces up. The 10mm faces down. Okay? Stick it back in there. Make sure the rubber grommet fits nice and smooth on the ledge. Right there. Okay? I'm going to want to take my plug it back in. You got to hear that snap. Alright, always hear that snap. If you're not hearing that snap, you're not going to get some good connection. Alright, now I'm going to take my 10mm bolt, okay, and I'm going to reinstall my coil. It was the long one right here. Reinstall my coil. Installing this, it also said about 66 foot-pounds. If you got a good torque wrench, go ahead and torque it to 66 foot-pounds. What I normally do, like you've seen me in other videos, I already know what 66 foot-pounds feels like, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten it on my own. Yep, we're good. Bam! There you go. Okay, so that was number 1. So I'm going to do number 2 next, which is right here, right next to it. The remove on the installation is exactly the same. I'm not going to bother showing you how to do number 3 and number 4 because these are all out in the open. Once I push this harness up, they're all out in the open. And let me show you what number 3 and number 4 looks like right here. There you go. Look at that, number 3 and number 4. There's a lot of space for an extension and a ratchet wrench into there and all that. So Passenger side, so much easier. Just remove the filter box and you're good to go. Driver side is a little more compact. Let me show you the driver side one more time, just so you can see the comparisons, okay? Here's the driver side. The driver side only looks a little mushed up right now because I put the main harness back. But remember, if you move that 10mm bolt right there, this whole entire harness pulls up and you can just wrap it up here somewhere, string tie it up here. And you can have access to the whole entire row right here. Just remember, the number 4 is a little hard because number 4, right in front of number 4, you got your brake elements right there. You see, you got all this stuff right here, so it's really hard to put in an extension. So you're going to have to weasel your way between these two red tubes to try to stick your extension in there. So it's going to require some patience to do number 4 on the driver's side, but the entire passenger side spark plugs is super easy. Okay, after I finished the passenger side spark plugs, I had one lesson learned I have to really share with you guys. So there was this one bracket that was in the way. This bracket right here was in the way of coil number 2. I just couldn't take anything in and out of coil number 2. So I had to remove this bracket instead of bending it out of the way. All it took was a 10mm right here. Once I took this 10mm bolt out, I was able to pull this bracket back out and my coil was able to come back out. Okay, and another issue that I was having that it was really bugging me is every single coil has this plug up here. This plug has a tab right here. I gotta push on the tab while pulling up, and these things get really stuck. 8 out of the 8 coils, I had a problem with 7 of them. So what I did was I took a screwdriver and I pried on the tab so it would make the tab come out. And while I did that, I took a pry and I pried up the plug. Okay, so one tool to open the tab, the other tool to pry up the plug. And I thought that was the only way to do it. It was a little hard. Okay, so right now I'm gonna go ahead, since I finished my installation, I'm gonna go ahead and put everything back to stock. Okay, and the first thing I want to do is go ahead and cut my zip tie right here, everything that was holding everything together. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, let's cut my zip tie. Make sure you don't cut any of the stock harnesses. Here's the zip tie, toss it to the side. Okay, now let's see, what am I supposed to put back here. You know what, be honest with you, I don't even remember anymore. Everything looks the same to me right now. I'm a little lost. I'm just kidding. So this weasels its way back inside just like this. Holy smokes, what did I do? Okay, there you go. Goes just like this. Okay, and I had one bracket right here, blah blah blah. Once I find out what am I supposed to do here, I will let you guys know. Okay, here you go. Okay, all right, so if you take a look, one bracket right there that was holding this main harness. This main harness right here has a bracket. See where that hole is? This metal hole? It goes right down on the side of the engine compartment. So I'm going to tighten that up right now. Okay, so I'm backing out of my car just so you guys know the orientation of where I'm working at. So it's passenger side right here. I'm going to set my camera down in the engine compartment right here. Okay, so you're looking at the passenger side spark plug side right here. Okay, so I'm going to put together back all my brackets and harnesses. Remember this harness I told you guys about right there? This is the 10mm. I already installed it. Okay, that wasn't very difficult to do, but that is a must that you have to take out. Where is this? It is right in back of the second coil. Here's the second coil. Here's the first coil. First, second, and right in back of the second coil is a 10mm bolt that you need to remove in order to move this big ass harness out of the way. I already put it back. Okay, the next harness I'm going to put back is this one right here. This one right here, another 10mm. So I'm going to grab another 10mm. I'm going to stick it right in here. The good thing about Lexus and Toyotas is everything's a 10mm. That's what I like about it. Very rare will you see a 12 millimeter, because it's really not necessary unless it's holding something really big. Okay, so another 10 millimeter right here. Bear with me while I tighten it down. And the only reason why I took all these out, because they were like in the way of the path of me taking out the coils, or in the path of me removing the coil plugs. Okay, there you go. I put this back right there with this 10 millimeter bolt right here. See that? This 10 millimeter bolt right there, and it holds this bracket right here. Okay, and the next one is this one. So pretty much I took out 3 brackets just to do this installation on the passenger side. This bracket goes right here. See that? Right there, right against the engine compartment. Okay, that is going to be my final 10 millimeter. I'm going to stick in there. All in all, this job was not too bad. It's not easy, but it wasn't hard either. It's not changing your transmission or anything, nor would I even try to attempt that. I did that in high school, and I don't think I'd want to do it again. I'd rather just pay somebody, since I'm pretty sure Lexus GX owners got a pretty big wallet, so I'm sure you guys don't do huge jobs yourself. You guys just like to meddle on these little tiny ones that we can save money on, and plus we trust ourselves. We don't trust mechanic shops. They usually put in cheap regular oil when we're not looking. I like to use Mobil 1 or something really fancy. Okay, so there you go. Put in this 10 millimeter. All right. There you go. Tighten it down. Okay, so let me point it to you again. It's right there. 10 millimeter holds this plug, right? 10 millimeter holds this plug, and that one holds this plug. Okay, go after the bolts and brackets that holds these gray plugs, these gray brackets right here. You can't miss them. They all look the same. This gray bracket, see this gray bracket, they all have 10 millimeter bolts that hold them in place. Okay, so now that I have all that situated in place, I want to make sure everything is tight. Okay, nothing is dangling and loose, nothing I've forgotten. Okay, there's this one plug left. It's going to go inside my air filter element, so I'm just going to leave this to the side. Okay, I'm going to hang it onto the top, and I'm going to go ahead and put my filter element back together. And the filter element was pretty easy. Remember how we removed it? You got a 12 millimeter right there, a 12 millimeter right there, and a 12 millimeter right there. Okay, so let's go ahead and slap this thing together. Alrighty. It's going to go inside here. You got this end piece right here of the air element. It's going to go inside the hole inside your car right here. Okay. Now if I took this out, you're going to see what hole I'm talking about. Okay. There's a hole on the side of your fender where your filter canister is going to go into. Stick it inside that hole right there. Okay. There you go. Stick it inside this hole. Make sure the 12 millimeter holes line up. Remember, while you're doing all this, you got a 12 millimeter that's stuck on the side right here. You don't want it to fall out either. You want to keep it in place. Feel around with your hands. Usually when you line up these other two 12 millimeter holes on the bottom, the third one on the back usually lines up too. So let me get my 12 millimeter socket ready to go. Remember how I said these things normally take 10 millimeters? Well, this is one of the few places you're going to find a 12 millimeter. Here's another long 12 millimeter that holds the air canister. They're this long, okay? They're going to go on the bottom. I'm installing all of these by hand right now because none of them are tight. I can usually screw them all down by hand. Fairly easy. And since while you got this open, you can go ahead and take a look at your air filter element. Okay, all the Toyota and Lexus air filters look like this, and it's got this little foam fuzzy carpet looking thing on the back. So you can't go out and buy yourself some cheap Fram or something, because they don't have those for some reason, and if they do, they're pretty expensive. Okay, here's my 12mm socket. I'm going to tighten them down. And there, tighten them down. I'm going to go ahead and take my air filter. I'm going to stick it back inside just like this. Remember the fuzzy stuff goes pointing downward, okay? Fuzzy stuff pointing downward. Everything's straight, everything's clean, everything's good. And that's what I like to see. Okay, now I'm going to take the top of the canister, which I have lying on the floor. All right, remember this thing, guys? This huge thing. Okay, so of course the square piece is going to go on top of your air filter, right? If you can't figure that out, you're a freaking idiot. All right, and this round part here goes right here. Okay, you got your clamps on there. Make sure all your wiring harnesses are out of the way. Remember that other wire harness I was talking to you about? Keep it out of the way. Don't forget to plug in this PCV hose right here, whatever hose it is. Do not forget to plug it in. Okay, so let's go ahead and do all that right now. All right. What I like to do, I like to keep the screw part on the top, so it makes my job a lot easier later on. Okay. When I mosey this back on, make sure everything's a tight fit. Okay, remember this top tube right here. Okay, I gotta, oops. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry, I'm doing all this by myself. Can't really hire a cameraman yet. Okay, let me see here. Here's your top tube. Here's your, okay, when you plug this in, make sure it fits over your air filter. Okay, you don't want any snags or anything. It's got to fit perfectly on there. Okay, and remember that plug I was talking to you guys about? That was just dangling out of nowhere. Remember, while we were working? Well, it's going to go on the side right here. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's getting pretty dark right now. Goes on the side right here. Just plug it in. Bam. Okay, and now you want to get a Phillips or another 10mm, tighten this down. And remember the tube I was talking to you about, it goes on the side right here. Don't forget about that. Plug that in. Okay, and here's another screw that you need to screw in. So there's two screws that you need to screw in, okay, to tighten your air filter element. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Okay, I got those two tightened. Once I get those two tightened and I feel like this is pretty sturdy and locked in, I'll take these latches and I'll latch them up. 1, 2, and there should be a third latch right here. Bam. Is there a fourth latch? No, there isn't. Okay, so there you go. There is my spark plug installation. I used a big carpet to cover my fender so I don't key it with my Gucci belt. No, I'm just kidding. I can't afford no Gucci belt. Okay, so I'm gonna go and look at everything, make sure everything's okay, nothing is loose, nothing is out of the way, and guess what? Check this out. Found one hose that is loose. Okay, so let's go ahead and take care of that. This goes right inside here. Okay. All right. It goes in right just like that. And I want to take the clamp it up. Put it over the crease right there to hold it in place. Okay, and let's look over everything one last time. See, there's that tube that I had to plug in. Okay, everything's tight, nothing is opened or gapped up or anything. Everything looks good. Did I leave any screwdrivers in the car? Did I leave any power tools or wrenches? I make sure all my tools are on top right here where my windshield is. Best place to keep them. Okay, make sure all this stuff goes back into your toolbox. All right, and I think we're done. The only thing I have left to do pretty much is to put the engine cover on, and you guys know how to put an engine cover on. Please, come on. Here's the engine cover. Real easy, right? Really easy. Your engine cover has got these little hinges in the back. See, hinge 1 and hinge 2. They're going to go back right there, right here. Right here on these rubber hinges in the back. See that one right there? It's going to go right there. You can't do that, you're a freaking idiot. I'm just kidding. Nobody's an idiot. But, okay, so let's go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to attempt to do it with one hand. If you got two hands and you can't do it, you're an idiot. I'm just kidding. Okay, there you go. Snap it in place. Bam! One-handed. Can you guys do that with one hand? I don't think so. All right, and that's it. We're done. So let's start the car. Let's go start the car. Let's see if it even starts. Oh man, I have a bad feeling about this, guys. Holy smokes! Did you hear that? Let's listen to the engine purr. Holy smokes! That's a beautiful thing when your installation turns out just perfect. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed my video. Thank you.